Goddamn, Pokemon Showdown is so goddamn chopped that makes it look like 𝐻𝐿 was painted by Da Vinci in comparison. This game needs to start fucking looks-maxing before I go blind.
Have you not heard?
Who the fuck are you?
There is a way to fix that now.
Nani? Datsubayo? Baka?
It cannot be. A way to make Showdown look presentable? That's right, fool. Pokemon Showdown Glowdown is finally released.
もちろんさ、ドナルドはおしゃべりが大好きなんだ。今度あら
Are you tired of Pokemon Showdown looking like a half-a conservative crack baby fucking shit itself to death on your monitor? Customize your game's backgrounds and field effects. So, if your game still looks like turbo ass cancer afterwards, that's your fault, dumbass. Conjured together from the unhinged whims of a batshit insane, retarded 𝐻𝐿 and boy stem cell.
What am I doing with my life?
Smoke weed every day.
Showdown Glowdown. It's gonna make you throw down. Cook so hard your kitchen's gonna burn down. Make it yours, make this shit your hometown. Nobody's watching this channel, this bitch is a ghost town. Total fucking letdown. Gonna have a meltdown, go downtown, tell people my poop's brown. Konnichiwa, every pony. Morg here. In this comically overproduced shitpost, yours truly over here will be teaching you a masterclass on how to make your Pokemon Showdown not look like total loss. I wanted to make this tutorial as inclusive to all skill levels as humanly possible. I don't want to alienate anybody in my audience, and given the type of people who do watch my content, this means that you'll have to endure me talking down to you like a retarded little toddler with late-stage 𝐻𝐻 disease for the duration of this video. For the first part of the video, first and foremost, let me give you a quick rundown of what you'll need to patch Glowdown onto Showdown so you can start getting some styles ready to throw down. For the first step, you'll need a computer of some kind. You see, a century ago, human wizards taught silicone rocks how to think through the power of thunder magic, and now we have to deal with neo-Nazis and worst of all, Reddit users. Me personally, I prefer the desktop variety, but if you have an Android phone or something along those lines, you might be in for a rough time, because extensions, which Glowdown is completely reliant on, are quite hard to come by on those. But throughout this video, I'll try to include some useful information that could come in handy if you know what you're doing on mobile. For the second step, you will need an internet connection of some kind. Either Ethernet or Wi-Fi are fine. If you're watching this video on YouTube or any of the other 6 million websites I posted this video to, you're probably on the right track and ahead of the curve if anything, so great job. For the third step, you'll need a browser of some kind that supports extensions. Personally, I'm still a Chrome cuck, but I'm trying to transition to Zen browser, but like in the TikTok way where I talk about it non-stop, but low-key, I will never ever install it or run it in any capacity, but I will always talk over Zen users about how great the browser is, and when I finally get annoyed into trying it for like a week, I'll get disillusioned immediately and spend the rest of my life grifting as the world's #1 Zen hater until the browser is made illegal and every user is made a social pariah, enemy of the public. Any browser that runs on Chromium or Firefox as a base is recommended, as long as it actually supports extensions. Just from the top of my head, for Chromium browsers you have like Opera and all of its different versions like GX Cornball Edition. Obviously there's Google Chrome, it's probably the most popular one on here, but there's also a really base de-googled version you can also use. It has a lot less baked-in spyware because they got rid of all the Google bullshit, but it's only good if you don't mind every other aspect of the browser sucking total ass in all areas, human centipede style. I've heard some really good things about Vivaldi, and the one I think nearly everyone watching this video has is Microsoft Edge, because on the lowest of quirks, I think every Microsoft computer these days comes with that shit baked in and rammed down your throat like Bill Gates' very own personal fat baka chud life depends on it. There's also the Brave browser. I've heard like great things about it, but yeah, that's it for Chromium. For Firefox-based browsers, they're a bit slower, so you might experience some choppiness if you do want to play on there. Usually this happens when the assets are first called into battle, so I wouldn't recommend this if you want this mod for making content, but if you're just a player trying to bedazzle your game, I think that's fine.
Obviously for Firefox browsers you have Mozzarella Firefox, but there are also other great options like Movad, WaterFox, LibreWolf, and of course Zen. If you're an Android, there's also a Firefox-based browser called 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐵, but if I can be TBH, I haven't actually ever touched it in my lifetime, so I don't know if it actually supports extensions. TLDR, as long as you have a browser that supports extensions, you should be fine. For the fourth step, you'll need an extension that lets you import CSS scripts onto websites. If you've been on the Showdown CSS modding scene before, you've absolutely heard of Stylus before, but I genuinely do not recommend this extension. It gets the job done really well, don't get me wrong, and it has a great website where you can easily navigate community-made CS sheets for any website. But the extension itself is infamous for fairly harvesting your data like a motherfucker. But also, I think we're also at a point as a society where nobody really gives a shit when having their sensitive information directly funneled to Palantir's rape and murder panopticon for $1.50 a piece. But I think Stylus, if you want, it's a decent option, but there's a better one, IMO. Personally, I use Stylus. It's a lot less bloated and more secure. I find it easier to work with as well because look at this UI, it's just a fucking box. There is nothing fancy going on. It's down to earth. Not sponsored, by the way. I fucking wish. The reason I prefer Stylus first and foremost is just that it's a lot simpler to use. The UI is just a fucking box. But the most important thing about it is the fact that it doesn't close itself and disappear like your father every time you try saving your code or clicking off or doing anything. You see, I think this is probably a bug because it didn't used to be this way, but with the stylish coding menu, every time you update your code, it just vanishes into smoke and you'll see your changes that you just typed in. But the issue is you're gonna have to reopen the app, open the coding thing, scroll back to your code wherever you're working, and it's a pet peeve because it gets really fucking annoying after the 70th time you've done this. And yeah, later on in this tutorial, you'll see that you're gonna have to do this kind of stuff quite a bit. So just go with Stylus, it's the better option. And also, infinitely less AIDS. I'll put a link for Stylus in the description of this video. Or if you want to be a reactionary LARPer, you can also just go to the Chrome Web Store and get Stylus. But you're gonna have to do that on your own, and I won't link it in this video because personally I lead my 𝐿𝐷𝐾𝐋𝐄 to drink from a nicer stream, and Stylus isn't what my chuddy buddies deserve, IMO. For the fifth step, you'll need to hop on my GitHub page for Glowdown. I might also try to upload it to Stylus's website if it stops shitting itself, so if you do go on there and find that, you can just press a button and it auto plugs it into the website. But I'll be very annoying about it because I have an irrational, autistically fueled bigotry for this website in my heart, like a white conservative seeing a melanated person breathing in public, or a Democrat seeing an unsucked fascist penis. But yeah, my GitHub page for Glowdown is linked in the description below amongst other links. Try to ignore everything else if you don't want permanent brain damage, because every time I make a description under a video, the disembodied poltergeist of Rosa Luxemburg enters my body and makes me type things against my will. Yes, this video is a call for help. Thank you for noticing. Once you've opened my GitHub page, you'll be in this main section here with a readme explaining what the project is, and also a .rar archive you can download. This basically just includes all the update notes and the versions, but you don't actually have to download anything from this. Everything you need to do is just copying and pasting stuff from here into Stylus, so yeah, just follow the tutorial, you'll see. If you look to where my mouse is right now, there's this button here called main. This will let you see all of the branches of the page. Think of them as folders, including all the stuff from the project. You'll need to go to the versions branch, and from there you have two options. If you are a video editor, you can use the video editing version. All this version really does is just removes the trainer icons, so you can replace them with something else in your video editing software, like Sony Vegas, Premiere Pro, or if you're a psychopath like me, Adobe After Effects. If you're just a low-life casual player, I also made a casual version which lets you keep trainer icons intact, just so you don't have to play like an eerie creepypasta trainerless version, unless that's what you're into, in which case you can just play on the video editing version, I guess. The video editing version has a little UI watermark featuring me as your content making assistant or something, but if you want, you can just cut this out from the code and it disappears like my hopes and dreams did long ago. I really don't mind if you do, but if you do actually like ever use this plugin in a video, just tag me in the description or comments or something. Not because I want views, but just so your viewers know what this mod is and so they can find this tutorial for themselves. So that I may also bestow this privilege upon them of not having their game look like total fucking ass cancer. I think it's only fair. But yeah, back to the tutorial. Once you've decided on your preferred version, all you really have to do is just like press this button here. It says copy raw file, and this just copies the entire thing to your clipboard, so you don't have to like drag your mouse over the entire thing like some kind of fucking uncivilized troglodyte. Once you've done that, you're gonna have to go to PokemonShowdown.com and make sure you are on the main menu and not this weird fucking introduction page, or else this is not gonna work. From this point onwards, you need to navigate to your plugins menu. I'm on Chrome, so it's this button here, and you're gonna see Stylus. Open it and press this plus button. This is gonna take you to the scripting menu. To the left of your screen, just at the top, you're gonna see an address box. This determines like what website the code is going to be associated with. You're gonna want to make sure that this is the address of Pokemon Showdown. It should auto-complete if you do open it from this website, but if for any reason it's blank, just make sure to copy that link into there and press save. And to your right, it's kind of hard to miss. I mean, it's half the fucking webpage. It's the big coding box. You can just like paste the script into here and press save, and that's gonna take us to our next step. Another thing I need to mention is that this only works on the web version of Showdown. I think this got discontinued a few years ago, but like there's a version of Showdown you can like download and play locally on your PC. This does not work on that. This has to be in your browser. If you're using this version, you're shit out of luck. So just play Pokemon Showdown in your browser like a normal fucking member of society and not a psychopathic social outcast. Once you've clicked save and applied Glowdown to Showdown, you'll notice that your main menu looks a bit different. I didn't really mod anything into the homepage because I wanted this mod specifically made for battles and replays. But there are like tons of other extensions in Stylus you can also paste the code off to yassify your menus and whatnot. You can actually run multiple scripts at the same time using either Stylish or Stylus, but just be aware that there might be some visual bugs from other mods if you do this. From here, go into a battle, and this is where the magic begins. Once you get matched up against some bumbleclad loveless incels still playing this game in 2026, you'll be met with a sudden realization that your battles look completely different and the backdrop has been replaced with this absolutely fucking peak placeholder I made for you guys. But yeah, this concludes our installation process. Congratulations, you've made it through the easy part. Next thing, I'm going to be teaching you how to like implement new backgrounds and whatnot. For part 2 of this tutorial, I'll teach you how to make backdrops for Glowdown. If you have these cool things called eyes, you might have noticed before that this backdrop has 2 numbers on it. One is 640 and the other is 360. These are the width and height dimensions we will be working with. You can go larger as long as you keep them proportionate, but if you want to use animated backgrounds, like me for example, it's not recommended with how bloated GIF files tend to be. But if you want to use a still image as your background, that's perfectly fine because those don't tend to be very big. If anything, I actually recommend upscaling the dimensions a bit if you do want a still background, because it's gonna look way better than whatever half pixelated bullshit I always have going on in the background of my content. For the next step, you'll need some kind of picture or video, and some kind of photo editing app, and then a video editing app if you're doing animated like me. For images, you can take a screenshot of something, like a Minecraft world for your background, or if you want your backdrop to move, you can record something with OBS. There are also a lot of good pictures on Pinterest you can use for this. It's where I originally used to take pictures I turned into backgrounds from. Personally, I would use Photoshop and After Effects to turn whatever you found into a background, but frequently you'll find using anything else as long as it lets you specify the image dimensions. For image scaling and editing, you can always just use something like GIMP, create a clip studio, or if you don't want to download anything, you can use sketch.io in your browser. If you do your art and photo editing on a phone, I also recommend PixArt. Personally, I always skip this stage and just do all my photo editing in After Effects, like an antisocial outcast. But this is mostly just because I always use animated backgrounds, so it saves me a bit of time. And just doing it in Photoshop first isn't always very useful to me. For making animated backgrounds on PC, I do recommend Adobe After Effects, but if you don't want to spend your money on supporting Moloch, and you also don't have a parrot on your shoulder whispering elite ball knowledge into your ear, there's a mobile app called InShot that also is amazing and completely free to use. Actually, it's what I originally used when I got into video editing like half a decade ago. All of my backdrops and field and weather effects I try to make about 10 seconds long, and I make them loop. I'm also going to teach you now how to make a video sequence loop perfectly, so just watch and learn if you're doing this in After Effects. What you're first going to have to do is take your video clip and make sure it's longer than whatever duration we have the end result set to, and just drag it back kinda and duplicate it. Now just isolate whatever the point you're focusing on at the start is, and just crop it so the new layer starts at where you want this to be, and just move the start point to the end, and now drag it back and just add an opacity fade so it slowly fades in near the end of the sequence, so when it ends it's on the exact same frame that it will restart on, so there's no jittering effect, and it's like a seamless loop almost. One thing I will recommend when designing especially backgrounds for Showdown is that if you look at the grid I included in the sort of template background that came with this mod, it's just so the foreground and the background make sense, because when I first started out making these, I would always just use whatever pictures I thought looked cool, that really adjusting them, and it would always end up looking like my fucking enemies were floating in midair when it made no sense for them to do so. You can forget this sometimes, if you look at this clip over here, I did a sky battle, and with these you can just go crazy. There can be no foreground whatsoever, and it's all background because it's in the fucking sky anyways and everything is flying. If you return to my GitHub page for Glowdown and you navigate back into the branches, you'll find one called templates, and here you'll find the default background, but also you'll find this mesh here, which is just a PNG of the foreground background dynamics, and I made it a still image just in case you're some kind of GIF-phobic Untermensch. But yeah, after you're done with your background, if it's an image you can just save it as a PNG or JPEG or whatever the fuck, and you're done with making it. But if you're making it as a video in After Effects or a different program, make sure to export it as an MP4 or an MOV or something along those lines, and then you're going to have to go to easygif.com, and you're going to have to use their video to GIF converter feature, which will allow you to turn it from a video file to a GIF file, which makes it compatible with Glowdown. Something I've mentioned earlier in this video is just how quickly GIF files tend to just get really fucking big in terms of file size. So if your GIF after you've processed your video is above 20 megabytes, make sure to go over here to this optimize button, and from there you can fuck around with whatever options they have until your GIF is just under 20 megabytes. It's gonna be pretty important later. And yeah, now that we have our background done and saved as either an image or a GIF, we are done with this section. So next up, I'm gonna teach you how to actually import this bullshit into Glowdown. In the third part of our autistic saga, I'll be teaching you image hosting, importing, and how to adjust that bullshit once you get it into Glowdown. To actually make our backdrop show up in-game, you have to find an image hosting service of some kind. This is basically anywhere you can upload an image to, or it can be accessed as a raw file via a direct link. These have free and paid options, but realistically, you're fine using the free ones, and you'll be surprised at how fucking stupid some of them are. Like, you can literally use Discord for this. Personally, I use a website called 𝐷GUI.me. They have a 20 megabyte size limit, like I mentioned before, and that's just per upload, so you can do like multiple 20 megabyte uploads of like different backgrounds. But the good thing is that the files stay up for a very fucking long time, and they won't magically disappear like they tend to do on most free file hosting websites. I don't exactly recall how long they keep the files for, but if I just have like this lingering memory in the back of my head from when I first found this website like ages ago, it's something along the lines of that the actual uploaded file is going to stay around for like months, and it won't get deleted as long as it's being like accessed via the link. So as long as you're actually like playing the game and like it's regularly calling the image from the link, you're fine. It won't magically disappear, unlike most other hosts, which will usually like disappear after like a day or two. Another great option is FileBin. I think they allow for slightly bigger file sizes, but obviously the time that the GIF is going to be up isn't as long. I used to use this for like higher res GIFs, but yeah, if you're using the video editing version and you just want to get like a replay with like a higher res background, that's perfect. I'd recommend FileBin for that. Another interesting thing you can do is you can actually open up a GitHub repository and just store all of your GIFs there. I don't think they get deleted unless they're like copyrighted, so yeah, I'd say GitHub is also great, but there's a bit of a learning curve if you don't know how to use it. But it's also a lot better at like organizing things, so yeah, I'd say if you know what you're doing, GitHub is also like amazing for this, and probably even better than the one I use. I'm sure there are also like amazing paid options out there that like deliver to fucking heaven and back, like huge file sizes available and around and hosted for a long ass time, like multiple fucking generations, longer than your lifetime and mine combined. But like, just use the free versions, they're perfectly fine. Don't spend your money on this. But yeah, once you have your file uploaded to a host, what you'll need to do is just like find a way to copy the image link and make sure that it's like a direct link to the file. Like if you go to your browser and you paste in the URL, it just opens up a page with just the like raw image and nothing else. Because if you fuck this up, it just won't work. Most of the time you can just do this by right-clicking the image and pressing copy image address, and that does it for you most of the time. If you're on Discord, you can like open the image in your browser and you can just copy the web page link from there and it's the same. And for FileBin, when you upload your thing to there, you can just like click on the thing that pops up when you do, and it just takes you to the file, which also lets you just copy the link from there. But anyways, yeah, make sure that you copy the direct image link to your clipboard, and it's gonna take us to our next step. Now that we have our link copied to our clipboard, the next thing we need to do is go back to Pokemon Showdown, and we can either do this in the menu or like in a battle. Basically what we need to do is we need to reopen the Stylus plugin, and just at the very top here, you'll find the script that we saved earlier on. If you press the pencil icon here, it's gonna reopen the script, and because we saved it earlier obviously. And what you need to do from here is just like press Ctrl F. This is gonna boot up a search bar, and in this search bar you need to type the words backdrop. It's one word, and it's gonna take you to this line over here, and if you look into this section of code, there's like some brackets here, and in these brackets there's a link. This is the link to where I am hosting the default background. What you want to do is just like select the link with your mouse, or like delete it and just like replace it with the link of your background and hit save. And if you go back into a battle now, you'll see that the background I had set as the default has been replaced with your background. And yeah, you can do this with either a image or a GIF. If it's a GIF, you'll see that it's moving, which is awesome. And yeah, this is the part where you've just like learned how to import images into Glowdown. But we're not yet done, because there are other things I need to show you how to do before you're like ready to fuck off. If you've played around with your background a bit in different games, you might have come across a team with like a weather theme going on, or like a field effect they rely on, like a terrain or like trick room. In which case you might have probably noticed that weathers and field effects look completely different with this mod installed as well. And that's because Showdown Glowdown scripts come with like a built-in version of the weather and terrain pack I made for my videos. So if you've seen my content before and you wanted to have what I have going on, you can just keep them how they are. Or if you're based and red-pilled and want to customize it for yourself, you can. I'll show you how it works. If you go back down to Stylus and you look at the script, if you just scroll down, you'll find these humongous fucking words that say field effects, and just underneath you'll find multiple code arguments. And if you like notice, just at the start of every one, you notice each one of these specifies a different weather effect, and everyone has a different link, different opacity, and different blending mode. Now, to make a weather style, it's basically the exact same principle as making a backdrop, but the only thing is that GIFs have like absolutely fucking horseshit support for transparency. So you're gonna have to make them on either a black background or a white background, and then you're gonna have to go into these blending modes and just experiment with them. I'll put a list of which ones work on the screen, and just like, yeah, fuck around with these, because some of these work better on like a dark backdrop, some of these look really good on like a brighter backdrop. So make sure you customize it in any way that looks best for you. And also you can tweak the opacity, so like if you like how a certain blending mode works but you think it's like too much, you can just like turn it down a bit in opacity. It's very like binary, but you can do decimals. 1 equals 100% opacity and 0 equals completely transparent. So if you put like 0.5, it's like 50% opaque. You can combine like backdrops and weathers and terrains however you want. Like you can make one still, another one move. One thing to note is that the way Showdown works is it renders the backdrop at the back, then it renders field effects on top of that, and then on top of that it renders weathers. But it can only like support one of each at a time. So for example, you can have like snow and trick room up at the same time. But if someone tries summoning Trick Room and then does Psychic Terrain, the Psychic Terrain is going to overwrite the Trick Room's graphics, even though both are active in battle. So yeah, just be like aware. The weather effects in Showdown include sun, and then you have Desolate Land, which is exclusive to Primal Groudon. And it's basically like sun on steroids. Then you get rain, and then you get, what was it called? Primordial Sea, which is like the fentanyl rain from Primal Kyogre. Then you get snow, and then you get sandstorm. But like if you try any metagame before Generation 9 Scarlet and Violet, you'll notice that snow gets replaced by hail, because that's what it used to be. And hail actually has a completely unique graphic compared to snow. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention Delta Stream from Mega Rayquaza. The primal weather effects, including Desolate Land and Primordial Sea, you can actually notice that they have completely different arguments in the code compared to their non-primal versions in Sun and Rain. So a cool thing you can do is like give them completely separate graphics from Sun and Rain, which the base form of Showdown doesn't account for and uses the same for both. This is probably like my favorite thing about this mod. For field effects, you have Trick Room, Gravity, Wonder Room, and Magic Room. There are a few more field effects in Pokemon, but the problem is that I can't add them in because for whatever reason Pokemon Showdown doesn't actually have any kind of like coded in graphics for them for me to like override with CSS. And this includes the 3 that are exclusive to doubles. Those are the pledge combination effects. Most people don't actually know about these because they are so fucking absurdly niche and rare to ever see in an actual game. The first of these is called Rainbow. The way you set this up is first and foremost you have to be in a double battle, and in the same turn you have to have both of your team members use Fire Pledge and Water Pledge, which basically sets up the secondary effect of Rainbow over the field for a few turns after. What Rainbow does is that it basically applies the Serene Grace ability to every move being used on the field for its duration, and what that does, it just doubles the chances of any secondary effect triggering. So like for example, if you have a move like Ice Punch that has a, what is it, I think like 10% chance of freezing your opponent, it goes up to 20. So like if you have like Mega Kangaskhan on the field and it uses Ice Punch and it hits twice because of Parental Bond, like every chance of that punch freezing the opponent is doubled. A good thing about Rainbow is that it doesn't actually stack with Pokemon whose ability is already Serene Grace, because that would be fucking turbo ass cancer. Can you imagine like Serene Grace, Rainbow, Ironhead, Jirachi flinching everything to death? I would probably 41% right then and there. I think Rainbow is the only one that could actually be put in the game as a field effect, because the other 2 are just like reliant on whose side of the field they're on. The second one I think is called Wildfire, and you get it by combining Grass Pledge with Fire Pledge, and what it does, it basically just like does passive damage to your opponent's side of the field for a set amount of turns. And the thing unique about it is that you can like stack it with a damaging weather effect, and it also deals like damage regardless of type. And the third one is I think called Marsh, and it's really boring. It just fucking halves your opponent's side of the field speed. So it's like a reverse tailwind. You get it by combining Water Pledge with Grass Pledge. If anybody watching this horrid video happens to be a Showdown developer or has like a voice in the community, I'd like to ask you to maybe like plant the idea in people's heads for Rainbow to get some kind of graphic going, because I really want to add it to Glowdown. But yeah, now we've gone over uploading backdrops and weather and field effects, so that leaves us with only one thing remaining: the demonic, the unthinkable, the un-American concept of sharing. I've been thinking of someday opening up a Discord server for this channel and its audience, but when I say someday, I mean fucking never. Because when you open up a Discord server, it always ends up in one of 3 ways. 1. Someone gets molested. 2. Someone gets murdered. 3. Both. So what you can do instead is if you go to Shitter, you can just tweet at me on @_MorganMorg. Right now I have a thread on my Twitter page, which is just like for people to respond to with their creations. Hopefully some normie out there will be browsing the thread and see something they like, and they can also just like copy the image link from Twitter, which is like super cool. But yeah, this concludes the tutorial. Thank you for following every step. I hope you have a fun time fucking around with Glowdown and customizing your game. Please do tag me on Twitter and just like show me what you made. You don't have to like share your backgrounds, but just show me what you've done with your game, because I'm like super excited to see that stuff. And yeah, that's basically everything. Tutorial over. Thank you for watching the entire thing through. Remember to dislike and report the video because the lion does not concern themselves with YouTube community guidelines. I'm currently trying to willingly deport myself from the United Kingdom. I don't really have it in me to go around playgrounds and verbally harass and scream racial slurs at black kids and their families, so that the people who definitely believe in protecting kids and the people who absolutely totally definitely believe in family values make me a millionaire overnight. But I do have a Ko-fi link in my description if you do want to support me on there. But yeah, shameless plug over, video's over. Get the fuck away from my channel, don't come back, bye bye.
And so everybody, this concludes our authentic piece of Marxist praxis. The demiurge 𝐤𝐴𝐷𝐷 is one truth nuke closer to being defeated. Remember to like and follow to make Morgan a very happy damsel. Karl Marx is rolling in his grave, but the real movement is saved. The lab never ends.